Hey friends, Pastor Bill Walden here, doing an overview of chapter 4 of the book 31 Blunt Thoughts, Not So Gentle Encouragement for Dense Husbands. Sometimes you just got to get right to it. Hey, chapter 4 is entitled, You're Not Always Right. If you don't believe me, ask your wife, ask your kids, ask your friends, ask your boss, ask your family, ask anybody that'll tell you the truth. You're not always right. I'm not always right. I know that for sure. And I'm so glad, my wife and I at this point in time, as I'm making this video, have been married 44 years and 5 months. I think there have only been a handful of times, seriously and honestly at the most, where we have had the kind of disagreement where I've said, okay, I'm putting my foot down, this is the way we're doing it, We always just seem to talk things through and get to the point where we both see the rightness of something. When she has been right, it doesn't mean that I'm forfeiting my leadership. I'm still the leader, but as a leader, I'm a wise leader if I listen to my godly wife. And so the verse that we considered in chapter 4 is Ephesians 5:21, submitting to one another in the fear of God. And in chapter 4, I talked about, excuse me, how I used to be a deer hunter and rifle, but also archery. And, you can shoot a deer from 300 or 400 or 500 yards with a rifle, but with a bow, you have to get within 30, 40 yards. That means you have to get close. That means you have to watch wind direction. You have to watch which way the wind is blowing, because deer have an amazing ability to smell something that doesn't belong in their forest. And so you have to approach from downwind. You have to mask your scent if you can with some kind of cover-up. You have to be very, very careful. You have to pay attention to the wind. It's very interesting. In Ephesians 5:18, which we've already considered, the Apostle Paul says, be filled with the Holy Spirit. And the word for spirit there is pneuma, which is also translated wind. So be filled with the wind of God. When I would deer hunt, I would consider, now which way is the wind blowing? I have to pay attention as I approach my goal. As a husband, I have to pay attention which way is the wind of God's Spirit blowing in this thing or in that thing, buying a house, how to raise the children, what job to take, should we move, should we not move, what church should we go to, how are we going to settle this disagreement about our marriage or about how we spend our time or how we spend our money. I need to be filled with the Holy Spirit, and I haven't always been. But by God's grace, my wife, is often filled with the Holy Spirit, and I do well to pay attention to which way the wind of God's Spirit, if you will, I'm using the metaphor here, which way the wind of God's Spirit is directing her, and then if I'll slow down, get over my ego problem. If some of us guys don't like being told that we're wrong or don't like admitting that we're wrong. Well, sometimes we're wrong. Everybody's wrong sometimes, so just get over that. It doesn't make you less of a man. It doesn't disqualify you from being a leader. A good leader will admit that he's wrong, and then he gets back to leading again. So being wrong doesn't disqualify you as a leader, and being wrong at times doesn't mean you should throw up your hands and just say, well, then you do it. You raise the kids. You run the house. That's not leadership. Guys, we're called to be the leaders in our homes. When I've slowed down, listened to my wife, and realized, no, God is really showing her what we should do about this particular thing, and then we agree, I have been a good leader. God may have used her to put the idea in my head or give me the wisdom or the awareness about something, but we've agreed together. But in us agreeing together and in her receiving direction from the Lord, I have not forfeited my position as the leader of our marriage. Proverbs 12:1 says this, whoever loves instruction loves knowledge, but he who hates correction is stupid. And in the Hebrew, it means like you're a brute animal. You're just kind of as dumb as a donkey if you don't love correction. If you hate correction, if you never want to be told that you're wrong, then a well-trained animal has more sense than you do at that moment. So let's receive instruction. Let's receive correction when we need it, even if it comes from our wife. And it's actually, I shouldn't say even if, especially when it comes from our wife. She's on our side. Hopefully, we're for each other. So receive that correction. Really quickly here, in Galatians chapter 2, there was quite a disagreement about Gentiles. Should Gentiles be circumcised? Paul was at a Gentile church. Peter was at a Gentile church. They were both there eating with Gentiles, which previously was forbidden for Jews in their minds. Peter was fine eating with these guys until some Jewish guys came from Jerusalem and started giving him dirty looks or whatever. It says, now when Peter had come to Antioch, I withstood him to his face because he was to be blamed, because certain men came from James from Jerusalem. Before they came, he would eat with Gentiles, but when they came, he withdrew and separated himself. In other words, this, Paul called out Peter and said, Peter, you're wrong. And Peter accepted it and repented. Guys, if the early church leaders, if the apostles, if the guys that God used to pen the Bible for us would allow themselves to be called out when they were wrong, certainly we can as well. So let's receive instruction, let's receive knowledge, let's receive correction. Guys, listen to your wife, pay attention to the wind of the Holy Spirit. God bless you.